I get why you're hesitating. You've probably spent a few minutes scrolling through endless mini PC options, worrying that you'll end up with something that looks slick on the box but stalls the moment you try to run a spreadsheet, a couple of VMs, or that occasional photo edit session. You don't want to throw $1000 plus at a device that ends up gathering dust because it can't keep up with your workflow, and you certainly don't want to waste space on a box that could have been a decent laptop or a full tower. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The ASUS NUC 15 Pro is that little square you see on a lot of office desks, the kind that claims desktop power in a compact form. The first thing I thought about was the real-world scenario of having a dedicated workstation at a standing desk while still keeping the area uncluttered. If you're someone who needs a reliable machine for AI model testing, data analysis pipelines, or running multiple monitors for coding, this NUC promises to deliver the horsepower without the bulk. That said, it also tries to be a jack-of-all-trades, and that's where the trade-offs start to appear. Let's break down who will actually feel the benefit. If you're a data scientist who spends most of the day training medium-sized models, the Intel Series 2 Core Ultra 7 255H paired with up to 64 GB of DDR5 gives you enough cores and cache to keep those notebooks responsive. The integrated AI acceleration on the Intel Arc 140T GPU helps when you're visualizing large datasets or running inference on edge-optimized models. Think of it as a small-scale GPU that can still push a 4K video stream without choking. For a freelance video editor who works primarily in 1080p or light 4K clips, the ability to drive up to 4K HDR displays means you can have your timeline, source footage, and reference monitor all visible at once without needing a separate graphics card. If you're a home office worker who just needs a second machine for email, web browsing, and occasional Excel, you might be over-spec-ing. The NUC's 1TB PCIe SSD is fast, but you'll probably never saturate that bandwidth with everyday tasks. In that case, a cheaper mini PC or even a decent laptop could give you the same experience for less money. The same logic applies if you're a gamer looking for high frame rates in modern titles. This device isn't built to replace a dedicated gaming rig. The Arc 140T is more about productivity-oriented graphics acceleration than raw rasterization performance. One of the biggest practical strengths is the upgrade path. ASUS designed the chassis with tool-free access, so you can pop open the side panel and add or swap out DDR5 sticks or a larger SSD without needing a screwdriver. That's a rare convenience in a space that's typically soldered shut. If you start with 32 GB of RAM and later need 48 GB for a heavier data processing job, you can do it in minutes. The Wi-Fi 7 module also future-proofs the device for the next generation of wireless speeds, which matters if you're pulling large datasets from the cloud on a 5 GHz network. And Thunderbolt 4 gives you the flexibility to attach an external GPU enclosure later if you ever outgrow the internal graphics. Thermals are where the compact size shows its limits. The fan is a single-stage unit that spins up under sustained loads, and you'll notice a low to moderate hum after an hour of continuous model training. In a well-ventilated office it's fine, but if you place the NUC on a cramped shelf behind a monitor, temperatures can creep higher and the fan noise becomes noticeable. It's not a deal-breaker for most productivity work, but it's something to keep in mind if you need a quiet environment for audio recording or conference calls. Port selection is impressively generous for a device that measures just a few inches across. You get 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, HDMI 2.1, a few USB-A ports, and a 2.5 gigabits Ethernet jack. That means you can hook up a dual monitor setup, attach a fast external SSD, and still have a wired network connection for large data transfers all without a dongle. In practice, I've seen users run a 27-inch 4K monitor as the primary screen, a second 1080p monitor for chat and email, and a USB-C dock for peripherals, all while keeping the cable clutter to a minimum. The only port that feels a bit dated is the lack of a dedicated SD card slot, which could be handy for photographers who want quick import without an extra reader. Now, the cost factor. At its price point, the NUC lands in the premium mini PC bracket. You're paying for the combination of the latest CPU, DDR5 memory capability, and a robust build. If you compare that to a similarly spec'd small form factor tower, you're saving on space but not necessarily on raw performance per dollar. However, the real value shows up in scenarios where desk real estate is at a premium, such as a small office, a home lab, or a creator's workspace that already has a large monitor setup. In those contexts, the NUC replaces